All right. It says excellent, so I believe it. Here we go. Good afternoon, it is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo, with yet another episode of Redstone Lapis Lazuli. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, here we go. So, oh no, see it crashed. Oh, interessant, it crashed. I went back and it crashed. So, yeah, hey, welcome to my show. I'm 2 days late because yeah, man. I don't know what to say. I get like it's pretty heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on. And so I made a mistake. I upgraded my Minecraft to 1.20. Duh. I upgraded my Minecraft to 1.20 0.6. That was a mistake because it broke a lot of my mods. So I can't use that distance horizon mods, which was awesome. And now you can see, right? It looks all like like without distance horizon, this Minecraft looks pretty terrible. And then I look at how I'm flying, right? Look at this boring flying that I'm doing. So I don't have the do a barrel roll mod. So those two mods are really great, and I don't have them. So yeah. Yeah. So I haven't really been doing much Minecraft. What I've been playing, oh dude, my frames per second are right there. You can see, right? Look at my frames per second. Pretty low, right? Pretty low. Basically, it's cut in half. My frames per second are cut in half. Half the frames go to OBS, and the other half go to my game, so I'm playing my game. So it looks pretty bad. I think it's better with NVIDIA, but I'm not sure. I think it was a pretty big hit with NVIDIA too. So you know what? I might have been better off with an NVIDIA card. Except the 4080 wouldn't fit in my case. So it doesn't matter. I couldn't afford it anyways. I couldn't fit it in anyways unless I bought a brand new case and remade my entire system. Which at that point, I might as well buy a new computer. And I'm like, no, dude, those are expensive now. Computers are expensive. I'm not buying a new computer. It's a shit ton of work. So instead, I'm gonna suffer with AMD. Okay, let me just turn off my frame rates. Dude, what's this? See, it's all different now. I need to put in another there we go. Another mod. All my mods are messed up right now. Okay, free Palestine for sure. So it's been a week, right? Holy crap. Things have been going on. There's a lot to talk about. So, the protests on Columbia, at Columbia University, spread to other universities. And it's very interesting to see how each university reacted to the protests. Right? Protesting, that's an American tradition. That's an American right. Remember the Boston Tea Party? When a bunch of white guys dressed up as Indians and broke into a harbor and found a ship and then dumped all their cargo overboard. They basically destroyed an entire shipment of tea, in protest, right? Wow. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure that wasn't very legal, which is why they dressed up as Native Americans. They want so trying to blame the Native Americans for what white people did. But yeah, bunch of white people it's very, very famous. It's very famous in America about how a bunch of white guys broke the law to go destroy property to protest. So yeah, that's an American tradition to protest, to trespass and protest. The civil rights movement, breaking a bunch of laws, broke a bunch of laws. It was illegal for black people to sit at the counter at Woolworths, and they did it anyways. And they got like attacked. So the civil rights movement, people, was not very popular when it happened. Like now we look back in the civil rights movement and we're like, oh, what a great time, how noble, how great. At that time, people fucking hated the civil rights movement. The white people hated the civil rights movement. They talked mad shit about the civil rights movement. During the Civil War, American students protested. And to the point where the government sent the National Guard and killed a bunch of them. Just murdered a bunch of them. So, protests are never popular when they happen. It's only in retrospect do we wear the rose-colored glasses and say, oh, how noble it was. You know, how noble they were to protest against the Vietnam War. How noble were the colonists to throw that tea overboard. How noble was it for the black people to defy white expectations and sit in places they weren't allowed to. Like, how noble. But at that time, when they were doing it, in the present time, when they were doing it, they were hated. They were hated. So that brings us to Palestine. Yeah, and what's funny is Joe Biden, back in the day when he saw the Vietnam protesters, he said, what a bunch of assholes. Joe Biden is the white moderate. Joe Biden is the embodiment of the white moderate. He was on board with the Vietnam War. He was on board with when George W. Bush was president, he got Congress to pass a law saying that the United States would invade the Netherlands. The United States would invade the Netherlands if any of Americans or U.S. allies were ever brought to court, to the International Criminal Court. Because the United States is not party to the International Criminal Court, right? It won't sign it. It won't sign the treaty. So, and in fact, it did the opposite. It passed a law saying they would invade the Netherlands if the International Criminal Court ever brought an American to trial, or an American ally. And Joe Biden signed it as a senator. He voted for it. Joe Biden, as a senator, voted for that law. So Joe Biden is no progressive at all. He's pretty firmly centrist. And you know what a centrist is, right? Joe Manchin was a quote centrist. So you know who Joe Biden is. Okay. So but yeah, back to the point is that protests are not popular when they happen. It's only in retrospect do we see how right and correct were the protests. And it's only in retrospect do people feel shame that they did not participate in the protests themselves. Instead, they stood on the sidelines or they criticized the protests. Only in retrospect. So we are now at a time where students are protesting the American involvement in the genocide of the Palestinian people. The American administration, the Joe Biden administration, has rebuffed the international community. It rebuffed the International Criminal Court, which called it a genocide. It has rebuffed its own people. The majority of the people don't want to be involved in it. But Joe Biden, and Joe Biden rebuffed his own State Department. His own State Department said, yo, this is a bad deal. And he said, shut up, I'm going to do it anyways. So Joe Biden, who is a self-declared Zionist, is on a mission to kill as many Palestinians as possible. And he's doing great. He's killed so many kids. He's like, it's amazing how many kids he's killed. I mean, not directly, right? No, what he does is he gives weapons to the Israelis, and then the Israelis use American weapons to do it, to kill kids. So of course, right? There's protests against it. But what's very interesting is the way in which the universities reacted to the protest. So some universities were great. At least Brown University met with the protesters, had a dialogue with them, and they came to an understanding. They came to an understanding that they would divest from Israel, the same way that the protesters in the past demanded their universities divest from South Africa, because South Africa was apartheid, right? And you can't like invade South Africa and force them to not be apartheid, but you can not buy things from them and wreck their economy. Not even wreck their economy, just refuse to participate in their economy. So the protesters of today are modeling what happened with South Africa. How did they, like, to end the apartheid in Israel, they're going to do the same thing they did to end the apartheid in South Africa, which is divest, sanction, and boycott. So the students of Brown University like met with the school, and the school agreed, and then that's it. That was the end. No cops, no guns, no brutality, no nothing. Right? It was just an affirmation of humanity and American values. That's what it was. Brown University. In contrast, you had Columbia University in New York City, in New York. At Columbia University, the students protested, and what happened was they were demonized. They were demonized by both the president of the university and by the President of the United States, and subsequently by a lot of other people. They were demonized. And then so Columbia University, in response to the protests, called the police to beat their kids into submission. To beat the kids so they would stop protesting. Beat and arrest kids till they stop protesting. That's what happened. They said, we're not going to divest from genocide. You have to take it. You have to accept that we're going to give money to genocide, and if you protest, we're going to beat you and arrest you. So the way they did this was an interesting trick I've been watching. Like, no one watches these, so like it's more like a record, I guess, a record of what's happening in the day, back in the day. Maybe in 50 years, people, if people are still around or whatever, you can look back on this recording and get a picture of what was going on at the time. So it's interesting what the way they're able to do what they're doing. Both at Columbia, at PSU, Portland State University, at UCLA. All these universities where the university called the police to take care of the protests, they all have this similar rhetorical trick that they used. And if you've ever read 1984, you understand that Emmanuel Goldstein talked about how language, how thought, not even Emmanuel Goldstein, but I think it was the party that explained it, that people's thoughts are dictated by language. So if you can control language, you can control thought. So to that end, they had to redefine words and make a new language called Newspeak. And in this new language, they just omitted words for concepts that the party found problematic. So you couldn't say freedom. There's no word for freedom in Newspeak. If you don't have a word for it, then you can't communicate it, and you can't think about it. You can't talk about it. There's the trick, right? So it's important that they control language. The powers that be. It's important that they control language so they can control the thoughts of the people. That way they can control the people. Well, in our current day, that's an analogy to what's going on right now. What's going on right now? Right now, the way that they turned people against the anti-genocide protesters was through a old trick. The old trick is to call the protesters anti-Semitic. They say, oh, you're protesting against genocide. You're anti-Semitic. You're on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What does protest against genocide have to do with anti-Semitism? So, the way I understand anti-Semitism is hatred toward the Jewish people. Hatred toward the Jewish people. That's anti-Semitism. But the kids protesting are protesting against genocide by the Israeli state. Right? The Israeli state is not Jewish people. it's the Israeli state. So so it's wrong to try to call it anti-Semitic because it has nothing to do with Jewish people. It has nothing to do with Jewish people. It has to do with the state of Israel. Now people are going to say, oh, Israel's the Jewish state. According to who? Israelis? The Israeli government? So the Israeli state says that the Israeli state is for Jewish people. So the Jewish people didn't say it. The Israeli state said it was that way. So but they can say whatever they want, right? The state can say whatever they want. Russia says it's a democracy, but everyone knows that's bullshit. It's not a democracy at all. No one can vote, and if you vote wrong, the state will come get you. If you're an opposition leader, the state will stop you from running. Or in the case of Navalny, they'll just arrest you and kill you. So that's not democracy at all. That's a mockery of democracy. So, also, what about Pakistan? Pakistan. If you criticize Pakistan, saying, oh, Pakistan was hiding Osama bin Laden. What the fuck is Pakistan doing? You can't come to me and say, oh, you're an Islamophobe. You hate Muslim people. Why? What? What are you talking about? I'm criticizing Pakistan. And you go, oh yeah, well it's not Pakistan, it's the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Therefore, you're Islamophobe. No, dude, no! No, it has nothing to do with Islam. It has to do with the fact that they're hiding a criminal. So that's the same thing with Israel. Israel can say it represents Jewish people, but it's not Jewish people. It's the Israeli state. It's something totally separate and different. So, but they want to conflate Israel state with Jewish people, so they can say criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. They want to defend themselves with the word anti-Semitism, and it's like a major trick. So let me get going here with my stuff. Da 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 da. So here's where we'll start. The protesters say, I wish the Israeli government would stop killing so many innocent civilians in Gaza, and he's holding a sign saying ceasefire and a peace symbol. And Bibi Netanyahu points to him and says, anti-Semitism! There's the trick. That's the trick they do, right? That's the trick. So here's an example of how the United States is assisting in this manipulation of language. House passes bill to criminalize criticism of Israel. House Resolution 6090 expands the definition of anti-Semitism to also include criticism of the state of Israel, which would be an unprecedented restriction of free speech should the bill become law. So it's probably going to die in the Senate. But that shows you that the United States, it was a bipartisan bill. It wasn't just Republicans or Democrats. It was both Republicans and Democrats trying to change the definition of anti-Semitism to include criticism of a state, of an apartheid state. So it's not just people talking shit. The government is actually trying to make it law, make it real. So Joe Biden himself is helping, right? Joe Biden condemns anti-Semitism as student protest over Gaza spread beyond Colombia. So, but that's bullshit, right? the state of Israel is not Jewish. It's not a person. It's not the culture. It's literally a state. But Joe Biden is joining hands with Bibi Netanyahu to literally change the definition of a word to protect genocide. So he can protect genocide. This is from Vanity Fair. President Joe Biden marked the Passover holiday by condemning anti-Semitism on college campuses amid the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University that have reverberated across the nation. In recent days, we've seen harassment and calls for violence against Jews. That's not true. Nobody called that. Nope. So he's making shit up. Joe Biden is making shit up to protect, but I'll show you where it came from. I'll show you where the violence came from, right? Biden said in a statement Sunday, "This blatant anti-Semitism, what? Is reprehensible and dangerous, and it has absolutely no place on college campuses or anywhere in our country." So Joe Biden is right there with Bibi Netanyahu and with the House of Representatives, that he wants to say that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. So he wants to change the meaning of words. I mean, words have meanings, right? And he doesn't like the meaning of the word, so he's trying to use his power like Trump. He's just like Donald Trump. If Biden had a Sharpie, he'd be writing the word, the definition, and changing it with a Sharpie. That's the same thing that Joe Biden is doing. But let's look at the violence that Joe Biden is talking about, the anti-Semitism. Let's just look at that, right? So here we have Professor Annalise Orlick. Professor Annalise Orlick. Start over. This is Professor Annalise Orlick. You'll see her, right? So that's her right there. She went up and pointed her finger at a cop. She was being disrespectful to a cop. She went like that and started saying things to him very angrily. So basically what she's doing is she's being contemptful of the cops. Contempt of cop is what she's doing. That's not a law. That's not a written law. There's no written law that you can't be contemptful of cops. But it's an unwritten law, an unwritten rule in the minds of cops, that if you're disrespectful of the cops, they can do bad things to you. So Annalise Orlick was disrespectful to a cop, saying, "How could you do this?" So watch again. That's all she's doing. She never touches the cop. All she does is she expresses her disdain for the actions of the police. So the cops just pushed some guy, and now Annalise Orlick is going to come up, and cops grab her, throw her to the ground, right? That's some anti-Semitism, right? That's some anti-Semitism. That's anti-Semitism. The cops are doing the anti-Semitism. So now she's under arrest because she was contemptful of cops. She's under arrest for being contemptful of cops. They just arrested her, right? She didn't do anything to the cops. She didn't do anything. The cops arrested her. So Joe Biden's like, anti-Semite! That's an anti-Semite! That's what Joe Biden says. Who is Annalise Orlick? Who is Annalise Orlick? Annalise Orlick is a professor of history and the chair of Jewish studies at Dartmouth College. So Joe Biden is calling the chair of Jewish studies an anti-Semite. What, Joe Biden? What? How can you say that the Jewish chair of Jewish studies is an anti-Semite? So either Joe Biden's definition of anti-Semitism is wrong, or she's not really. All of this is a lie, and she's actually a Nazi. I think Joe Biden's wrong, right? So Annalise Orlick was a Jewish professor, and of history and a chair of Jewish studies at Dartmouth College, right? She is the author of Common Sense and A Little Fire: Women and Working Class Politics in the United States. Soviet Jewish Americans, and Storming Caesar's Palace, How Black Mothers Fought Their Own War on Poverty. She is the co-editor of The Politics of Motherhood, Activist Voices from Left to Right. So Joe Biden is calling her an anti-Semite. A violent anti-Semite. Where did the violence come from? The violence came from the police. But you have to understand, Joe Biden, by calling the protesters anti-Semitic, he gave cover. He gave cover to all the violent elements. So this is at UCLA. This is UCLA. Because the protests spread around, right? There was a camp at UCLA, and Joe Biden called the camp violent and anti-Semitic, which gave cover to these motherfuckers to come attack them. Listen to what they say. Look at that woman right there, that elderly woman, like trying to like defend the barricades and herself. Look at her. It's one older woman against all these dudes. Fuck you. Fuck you, old lady. You stand no chance, old lady. Those are Biden's guys. Those guys doing this, these guys are on Biden's team, right? Because Biden's like, oh yeah, those guys are anti-Semitic. Those guys are violent. So he gave these guys cover to attack them. Right? So you stand no chance, old lady. You stand no chance, old lady. Like, that's Joe Biden's guys saying that. Look at what they're doing. They're with the cops and they're lobbing fireworks into the camp. Right? That's Joe Biden's guys doing that. Joe Biden's side is doing that. That makes sense, right? Joe Biden is into genocide, so he's all into this violence here, right? So he called the guys, the people receiving, like getting hit by the fireworks. He said they're the bad guys. But that, right? So that came from the Zionist side. Joe Biden is a Zionist. That came from his side. So his side attacked. His side is all about the violence, and his side is the one that attacks Jewish people and calls them anti-Semitic. So it's an American tradition, right? We can work things out. We can have a dialogue and just talk it out, right? Figure out what's going on. That's the point of protests, right? To articulate your position, to figure out what's going on. So look what so the Zionists pretend to engage in dialogue, but they don't act. They're not doing it in good faith, right? Nazis don't engage in dialogue in good faith. Every time a Nazi engages in dialogue, he's talking in bad faith. So these Zion Nazis are no different. They're engaged in dialogue, but it's in bad faith. They're just looking for an opening to attack.
UCLA is directly investing in weapon manufacturers that kill people all over the world, not just Palestine.
What can we do
so
tonight?
You care about that? You care about everyone else in the world too.
I care about innocent civilians.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, you see, the Zionists don't care. They just pepper sprayed the guy, trying to have a conversation. So Joe Biden is basically siding with Zion Nazis to end American traditions of dialogue and free speech and protest. And he's doing so by twisting words to try to make them mean things they don't mean. And he gives cover to actual Nazis to attack. Joe Biden, everybody, he's self-admitted that he's a Zionist, that he's on team Israel, and he's all about killing Palestinian people. So pro-Israeli counter-protesters, Zionazis, assaulted 4 journalists on the UCLA campus early Wednesday morning. So it wasn't just that they attacked the Palestinian camp. The Zionazis also attacked journalists. 4 student journalists who work for the UCLA Daily Bruin were attacked shortly before 3:30 a.m. Wednesday by pro-Israeli counter-protesters, Zionazis, during a campus demonstration that turned violent. Daily Bruin news editor Catherine Hamilton, 21, told The Times she recognized one of the counter-protesters as someone who had previously verbally harassed her and taken pictures of her press badge. The individual instructed the group to encircle the student journalists, she said, before they sprayed the 4 with mace or pepper spray, flashed lights in their faces, and chanted Hamilton's name. As she tried to break free, Hamilton said she was punched repeatedly in the chest and up her abdomen. Another student journalist was pushed to the ground and beaten and kicked for nearly a minute. The attack was first reported in the Daily Bruin. We expected to be harassed by counter-protesters, Hamilton said in an interview Wednesday, adding that every Daily Bruin reporter was instructed to use a buddy system to report from outside the encampment and to leave the area if it became unsafe. I truly did not expect to be directly assaulted. So those are Biden's guys, right? That's Biden's team. Biden's team attacked journalists, they attacked non-violent protesters, they attacked Jewish professors and called them anti-Semitic. That's Biden's side. Biden's Zionists did this. And Biden gave them cover, right? Because he is using Bibi Netanyahu's terms. But it's not just Biden. The mayor of New York, who's nominally a Democrat, also is engaged in trying to twist the word anti-Semitism to mean criticism of Israel. So and plus he just fucking lies. He's just a liar. So look at Mayor Eric Adams. I am horrified and disgusted with the anti-Semitism being spewed at and around the Columbia University campus. Wait, what? And then right below that tweet, right below this one, right below it. So Ariel Angel says, just got back from the Columbia encampment. Students feeding one another, sitting in tents, chanting about divestment. If I didn't know that, if I didn't know better than to form my impression from what I saw on. Ooh, wait a minute. What else did she say? If I didn't know better than to form my impression from what I saw on the news, Twitter, or what I've heard from the White House, I might have never come. So she actually went down there to actually see what was going on. And what did she see? A bunch of people dancing around and being chill. Here, this woman also did the same thing. Right? This is what you saw. She saw. Do you see anti-Semitism? Do you see hate? Do you see violence? No, dude. No. It's not there. Here's a Jewish person who went down to the protests to test, to see if they would attack her. Nobody attacked her. Nobody said anything to her. No one harassed her. No one did anything to her. In stark contrast to the Zionists that attacked the camp. Right? Nobody does anything. So Mayor Eric Adams was lying. He was lying about what was going on. He lied about it so he could attack the camp. In fact, if you wait just a little bit longer, there, look at the banner in the background. Jews for a free Palestine. Jewish people are there. Jewish people are there. It's not anti-Semitic. If it were anti-Semitic, why would Jewish people be there? If it were anti-Semitic, why would a Jewish history professor be there? Like, somebody's lying. Somebody's lying, and it's your leaders. It's Mayor Eric Adams. It's Joe Biden. They're lying to you. So basically what you have is a bunch of people shouting, to end the genocide and to divest. And then you have some Zio-Nazis coming to attack these guys and call them anti-Semitic. This is basically what's going on. So what happened at UCLA and what happened at University of Texas Austin, and where the police attacked everyone, and what happened at Columbia University where the police attacked everyone, now the presidents of the university said, "Oh, we're concerned about the safety of the we're doing this for the safety of our students. We're sending in the police for the safety of our students." So what does it look like to send in the police for the safety of our students? They're gonna make sure that the students are safe, right?
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Gina,
Isn't that real safe?
This is so dangerous. Again, they're shooting rubber bullets, but I can tell you from doing stories about rubber bullets,
So to make sure the students are safe, the police shot them with rubber-coated bullets, and this is the result, right? I bet that guy feels real safe now. He got shot in the face with a rubber bullet, with a rubber-coated bullet. So the university presidents, in order to keep their students safe, attacked them with the police. So the university presidents were fucking lying, like Joe Biden was lying, like Mayor Eric Adams was lying. All these people lied. Lied for what? In service to genocide. They lied to cover up genocide, to protect genocide. Like, Joe Biden has lost all credibility with me now. I can't believe a word Joe Biden says anymore. Like, if he would lie about something so blatantly obvious like that, then what else would he lie about? He's, like, no different than Donald Trump. Donald Trump lies too, right? That's why everyone hates Donald Trump, because he's a liar. Well, Joe Biden's just the same thing. He lies just as much. Not even to protect Americans. He lies to protect a foreign country. He lies to protect a foreign country and to cover up for a genocide. That's what Joe Biden lies about. I mean, Donald Trump's a fucking liar for sure. Big time. Like, I'm not saying at all, I'm not even telling you to vote for Donald Trump. I think the United States should execute Donald Trump. They should put him on trial for treason, find him, when he's found guilty, they should execute him. Because Donald Trump is dangerous alive. Like, that's the traditional penalty for treason, is execution. So yeah, the United States already executed Ethel and who's the other guy? The Rosenbergs in the 50s for treason. Donald Trump stole nuclear secrets. He should be executed too. So I'm not saying that you should vote for Donald Trump, but I'm pointing out that Joe Biden has a lot of the same aspects as Donald Trump. He will lie. He will totally lie to your face about things you can obviously see are not true. So Joe Biden isn't alone in trying to redefine words. The Republicans are all about it. Listen to, so I always say the word, birds of a feather flock together. People with similar values and ideas will associate with one another. So you can see how Joe Biden is associated with the Republicans. In this case, with Ted Cruz.
Senator, there is money that we now know that is behind a lot of these protests. There is a lot of...
That's bullshit. That's utterly bullshit. They want to say that it's coming from the outside. That's what they want to say. That they said the same thing about the Vietnam protests. They said the communists are paying the protesters. They say the same thing every time. So this guy's full of shit. He's full of shit.
Similarities. The tense match at many of these college campuses.
That's bullshit, dude. Everyone buys their tents from the same place. Why wouldn't they fucking match? Haven't you ever been camping, dude? Like, people with newer tents have newer tents. That's the way it is.
Canvases, which is hysterical. The chance
and it
match.
shows they're not even high.
Of course a chance match. That's the point of a chant. Like, it's easy to spread a chant. Dude, like, you guys are, like, so what this asshole is trying to do is spread doubt. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. That's what fascists spread. So that's what he's working with, right? So here's Ted Cruz, one of the biggest fascists out there.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, this is organized. This is deliberate.
Well, yeah, of course it's organized, dude. Everyone says, "Hey, show up. Let's do stuff. Let's organize. Let's self-organize." Of course.
And there's real money behind it. And
what the fuck are you talking about? Real money behind it? See, people like to throw out accusations with no backing whatsoever because a lot of Americans are into conspiracy theories. They don't need proof. They just need something that they feel that feels true to them. That's why Donald Trump does so well, because he totally gets rid of truth and just gives people what feels true, and they go along with it.
And if you look at it, in many instances, SJP now actually can EPR $1,606, $300,000.
Yeah, I don't care, dude. He's trying to say George Soros. He said they're saying a Jew is behind all this. Like, seriously, they're like, there's a Jewish conspiracy with George Soros, Jewish billionaire who's doing this anti-Semitic protest. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, but that's why it's a conspiracy theory. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to make you feel good, and then people will buy it. So, the power of framing. It's same news, two different stories by Keith Edwards. So The Guardian says, U.S. adds 175,000 jobs in April in 40th straight months of gains as unemployment stays below 4% in the longest such streak since 1953. Right? That's The Guardian. And then The New York Times says, U.S. employers added 175,000 jobs in April, a downshift in the pace of hiring. The unemployment rate ticked up to 3.9%. It's the same information, but the way the New York Times frames it, it frames it as in a negative frame. It makes it look bad. Like, it does whatever. The New York Times is in a war with Joe Biden, trying to make him look as bad as possible. Like, he already does enough on his own to look bad. You don't have to make shit up, New York Times. So New York Times has no credibility. Like, they've lost it. Aged milk, yeah. Aged like milk. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, 2020. They won't tear gas your mom. Guess what, guys? They tear gassed your mom. They did it. They tear gassed your mom. They tear gassed your mom to protect genocide. Yeah, I think Joe Biden. Now here's the deal. I think Joe Biden can read the writing on the wall. Joe Biden can see that Donald Trump has a lot of court cases against him. And that likely what's going to happen is Donald Trump is going to become a felon. Right? So being a felon is a big turnoff for a lot of people who want to believe they're into law and order. Right? How do you support a guy for president when he's a felon for breaking the law? So Joe Biden can look at the polls just like everyone else, right? He can see the results of the primaries. In all the primaries, the most that Donald Trump can win is about 85%. Consistently in the primaries in all the states, Nikki Haley, a woman not even running anymore, she already stopped running. She keeps getting 13 to 15% of the vote. That's 13 to 15% of the Republicans that will never vote for Donald Trump. He has a hard ceiling to his vote. There's a bunch of Republicans that will never ever vote for him. So he can't win. In order for a Republican president to win, he has to carry all the Republicans. They have to do it. They have to get all the Republicans. They can't leave any Republicans out. But there's a sizable chunk of never-Trumpers that will never vote for Donald Trump. So Joe Biden sees this group and says, hey, I can get that group. I can get that group. So then he looks on his left flank, right? He looks on the left, and he sees the students, the young people, protesting against the genocide in Israel, in Gaza, that is perpetuated by Israel. And Joe Biden is thinking, well, I can sacrifice the Muslims, I can sacrifice the Palestinians, I can sacrifice the young people. I don't need them. They can fuck off. I don't need them. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this group of never-Trumpers to vote for me. If I can get the never-Trumpers to vote for me, I don't need the kids. I don't need the Muslims. So that's what Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden can keep his preferred policy of genocide and just abandon the youth vote and abandon the Muslim vote, because he's going to get the never-Trumpers to vote for him. So he's moving to the quote center to capture the Republican vote, because Republicans are fine with genocide. They don't care. In fact, a lot of Republicans are evangelical Christians. Now, evangelical Christians, conservative evangelical Christians, have a doomsday prophecy. In their doomsday prophecy, they're going to get all the Jews to leave the United States and go back to Israel. And then once they're there, they have to convert to Christianity or they'll be killed. And that's great if you're an evangelical conservative Christian. That makes more Christian people, more people follow your faith. And at the same time, it gets rid of all the Jews in the country. So evangelical white supremacist Christians love this story, love their doomsday prophecy. In fact, more evangelical Christians support the state of Israel than Jewish people. So Joe Biden is a Zionist, right? He I don't know if he believes in the doomsday prophecy, but he believes in an ethno state. So and he's willing to commit genocide to get the ethno state. So Joe Biden is gonna ditch the young people and ditch the Muslim Americans and team up with the never-Trumpers who don't mind a little bit of genocide and who have an ulterior motive of deporting all the Jews to Israel and force them to convert to Christianity or die. It sucks. It sucks. Now I hear a bunch of centrists, liberal centrists. They come to me and they say, "Oh, you're just helping Donald Trump become president. That's all. It's your fault if Donald Trump becomes president. It's your fault because you're attacking Joe Biden. It's your fault if Donald Trump becomes president." No, guys, no. Am I president? Do I have Joe Biden on my phone? No, dude, he doesn't give a shit about me. Joe Biden ignores me. Joe Biden doesn't give a fuck about me. I don't have any power whatsoever. The only power I have is my vote, just like everybody else. My vote is not an automatic thing. Nobody's vote is automatic. A candidate has to win your vote. Joe Biden is not in a race against Donald Trump. Joe Biden is in a race against the non-voter. The person who says, "Oh, look, there's no one to vote for. I guess I'm not going to vote for president." That's who Joe Biden is running against. That's Joe Biden's opponent, not Donald Trump. Because people who are pissed off about genocide are not going to just up and vote for Donald Trump. That's stupid. And that's pretty insulting that people would think that. But what's also insulting is to blame them for the policies of Joe Biden. That's the whole reason why they're protesting, is to change the policies of Joe Biden. And then these centrists come up and say, "Oh, you can't try to change the policies of Joe Biden. You just have to accept them and go along with it." That's what they're telling you to do. To give up your power, to give up any chance of changing policy, and just to accept genocide. Out of fear of what might happen to you. That's like the most cowardly way of doing it. And in fact, if the centrists like actually cared about stuff, they would join the protests. They would join us in pressuring Joe Biden to stop the weapon shipments to Israel. They would join us instead of working against us to prop up Joe Biden's genocide by threatening us with Donald Trump, as if we're the ones who are making policy. It's like they flip things on their head. The president has the least amount of power, but this individual protester has the most, and it's all their responsibility if Donald Trump gets in. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's the most on its head thing ever. LAPD just shot a protester in the fucking face. A psycho with a 40 millimeter gun just pointing that shit at everyone. The center light is attached to a 40 millimeter launcher. So yeah, this guy got shot for the safety of the students. They shot students in the face. So you can tell, right? They're full of shit. They are full of shit. Zionists are full of shit. They lie about the most obvious truth, the obvious thing ever. They lie about it. Like, I'll get stuff wrong, right? But I'll admit that I get it wrong, and I'll change my position. For example, like I thought that Donald Trump had like a campaign finance issue with the Stormy Daniels thing. But it's like, I don't know what it was. It's like some kind of fraud, and I don't really understand it. But I know they have him dead to rights. I've been following the trial, and like his signature's on everything. Donald Trump, and he knew about it, right? He knew about it. He's had all these witnesses come up to testify to it, and he has no witnesses of his own to come say, oh, that's not true. He has got nothing. In fact, Donald Trump won't even take the stand. He goes outside after court and talks to Fox News and says all sorts of bullshit to Fox News, but he won't say any of that on the stand under oath. He will not do it. Why? Because he can lie to Fox News, and he can lie to his followers, and his followers will believe it. He doesn't have to go on the stand to make his followers believe what he's saying, right? But if anything what he was saying was true, why doesn't he take the stand and go under oath? Because it's not true. He's full of shit. He's absolutely guilty. And he's terrified. He's terrified of getting on the stand because then he has to tell the truth. And the truth will destroy him. Anything that can be destroyed by the truth deserves to be destroyed by the truth. But understand that Joe Biden also lies. He's a big fat liar. So remember, his big speech, Joe Biden was calling for order, we must have order. He's like, you anti-Semitic Jewish people we must have order, you anti-Semitic Jewish people. So, and he makes order by sending in the police and shooting kids in the face. So, I know someone who said something about order. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in letters from the Birmingham jail, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's greatest stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice. Joe Biden is the ultimate white moderate. He's the guy that called Vietnam War protesters a bunch of assholes. Joe Biden is the guy that said that he's a Zionist. Joe Biden is the guy who voted in order to invade the Netherlands. And that's not just some bullshit talk, right? Where'd it go? Do I have it on here? GOP senators. Quote, "You have been warned." Republican senators threatened the ICC prosecutor over possible Israel arrest warrants. So what happened was Republican senators had a video chat with the people at the International Criminal Court and told them, look, dudes, we hear that you're going to issue an arrest warrant for Bibi Netanyahu for his role in the genocide of the Palestinian people. If you do that, it's going to be a bad day for you guys. The Republican senators are warning. So Joe Biden's right with them, right? As a senator, he voted for the law that allows them to do this, to threaten invasion of the Netherlands. A group of influential Republican senators has sent a letter to the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, warning him not to issue international arrest warrants against Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials, and threatening him with severe sanctions if he does so. In a terse one-page letter obtained exclusively by Zetio and signed by 12 GOP senators, including Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Florida's Mark Rubio, and Ted Cruz of Texas, Khan is informed that any attempt by the ICC to hold Netanyahu and his colleagues to account for their actions in Gaza will be interpreted, quote, not only as a threat to Israel's sovereignty, but to the sovereignty of the United States. So there's the Republicans. Remember, Biden's totally on board with this. Biden is absolutely on board with it. Threatening the International Criminal Court, saying you can't issue an arrest warrant for our guy. Where'd it go? No, dude, where'd it go? I lost it. It's still there, and I can't make it go away. Oh, there it is. No, it's not away, dude. It didn't go away. You didn't close it. It's not on my taskbar. How funny is that? Oh, okay, it's that one. That's why. There it is. It was on my taskboard. Okay. Taskbar. So So, of course, the International Criminal Court responded, right? The Office of the Prosecutor is aware that there is significant public interest in the investigations and welcomes comments, communications of concern, and engagement in its activities from state and elected officials, non-governmental organizations, scholars, and activists. The office seeks to engage constructively with all stakeholders whenever such dialogue is consistent with its mandate under the Rome Statute to act independently and impartially. That independence and impartiality are undermined, however, when an individuals threaten to retaliate against the court or against court personnel should the office, in fulfillment of its mandate, make decisions about investigations or cases falling within its jurisdiction. Such threats, even when not acted upon, may also constitute an offense against the administration of justice under Article 70 of the Rome Statute. That provision explicitly prohibits both retaliating against an official of the court on account of duties performed by that or another official, and impeding, intimidating, or corruptly influencing an official of the court for the purposes of forcing or persuading the official not to perform or to perform improperly his or her duties. The office insists that all attempts to impede, intimidate, or improperly influence its officials cease immediately. That was to the United States senators. So those Republican senators just made the United States look like an asshole. Because they're working hard to defend the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people. So Palestine just recently, or not Palestine, the terrorist group Hamas just agreed to release the hostages in order to stop a ceasefire. But you have to understand, Netanyahu was never interested in the hostages. He never cared about the hostages. What Netanyahu wants is the land. He wants to ethnically cleanse Palestine of all the Palestinian people so he can seize the land for himself and make an ethno-state. Netanyahu again vows to invade Rafah with or without ceasefire deal. An Israeli official told the New York Times that Israel and Hamas had been closer to a deal a couple of days ago, but that Netanyahu's statement about invading Rafah, regardless of the outcome, compelled Hamas to harden its demands in an attempt to ensure that Israeli forces won't enter the city. Well, they're entering right now. Israel is already invading Rafah. They're already doing it. So this is the result, right? This is what happened. Are those little kids? They've been crushed and killed by the building. Are those little kids Hamas? If you ask Bibi Netanyahu, he'll say yes. Little children are literally born evil, according to Netanyahu, because Netanyahu's a fascist, he was a fascist. So just so you know, that's not a whatever. It came from a video. Trying to dig out people from a collapsed building. So this is Bibi Netanyahu waging war. This is Joe Biden kills more children for genocide. And Joe Biden says if you criticize the genocide of the Palestinian people, that makes you anti-Semitic, because Joe Biden is saying that Jewish people are genociders. So who's the anti-Semite? That makes Joe Biden an anti-Semite. If Joe Biden says that Jewish people are genociders, that makes Joe Biden an anti-Semite. He's an anti-Semite. Joe Biden is an anti-Semite in service to Zionism. In service to genocide. Yeah, dude, Joe Biden fucked up big time. He's an older guy. He doesn't have much time to make it good with God. He goes to church, but what does that mean? Who cares, right? Oh yeah, Joe Biden, I see that you murdered like 30,000 children. But oh, you went to church on Sunday, so I guess it's okay. No, dude, you're fucked. You're fucked, Joe Biden. You are fucked. Yeah, you don't have to worry about protesters. You got bigger issues. You're in your 80s. You have almost no time to make it right. How do you make up for killing 30,000 kids right in your 80s? How do you make up for that? Genocide Joe. Yup, that's about right. Genocide Joe. So Joe Biden has other people, right? Birds of a feather flock together. Here we go. Those guys are with Joe Biden. They're with Joe Biden. These Ku Klux Klan members, because that's what this is. If you look, they're all white kids. And they carry, what's funny is that Confederates will often wear the flag of the country that defeated them, the United States. They do it all the time. Confederates will wear the flag of the country that defeated them. These guys are Confederates. Make no mistake about it, right? They're white supremacists. They're all white supremacists. They're not there to defend Israel. They're there to make fun of minorities, because that minorities are the ones who are protesting. Look at that kid! Look at that kid! He's making monkey faces at this woman, this black woman. That's a pretty racist thing to do. Who is that kid? Who was that guy? Who is that kid making monkey faces? Wait a minute. That kid is this guy. J.P. Staples of Mississippi. He's always been a racist. Look at the tweet he wrote. The first million was the hardest by Hitler. Dude is a fucking racist. He's a That's your buddy, Joe Biden. That's your buddy. He's on your team. He also wants to defend genocide. Birds of a feather flock together. I mean, yeah, dude, Joe Biden, how are you gonna fucking fix this? You fucked up. You fucked up. Big time. But it's part of your strategy, right, Joe Biden? You're willing to sacrifice the young. You're willing to sacrifice the Muslims as long as you can get the never Trumpers. That's pretty fucking cynical, Joe Biden. So I'll end with this. I'll end the Joe Biden part with this. There's a boot stamping on your head, and the dog is saying, "Hey, at least it's not Trump." Right? The student's getting shot. Oh, I'm so glad that Joe Biden's president.
Gina,
This is so dangerous.
So again, I am not saying to vote for Donald Trump. Understand that Donald Trump is the de facto leader of the Confederacy right now. The Confederacy is not gone. It might have lost its territory at the end of the Civil War, but its power structure remains, and it still exists. It's still an entity. Like, it basically controls the state of Tennessee through the Republicans. So understand that Donald Trump doesn't represent Americans. He represents Confederates. Republicans don't represent Americans. Republicans represent Confederates. The Republicans are the reincarnation of the Confederate Party. So understand what's going on, right? Here, look at this. Donald Trump said in a speech recently, "If we don't win this election," who's this we? Who's this we? He's not talking about me, guy. He's not talking about me. I'm not part of him. I'm not associated with Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs to be executed by the United States. Fuck Donald Trump. But Donald Trump said, "If we don't win this election, I don't think our country is going to survive." So who is this we? Who is this our? Right? He's not talking about me. He's talking about the Confederates. He's talking about the Confederate nation. A nation doesn't need to have territory in order to be a nation. So, the Confederates. He's talking about the Confederates. So he says, if the Confederates don't win this election, I don't think our Confederate country is going to survive. That's great. But for the Confederates, they hate that, right? They look at that, like, they wail, "Oh my God, no, the lost cause." Oh. So he says, I actually think our country, the Confederacy, is not going to survive. That's fantastic. How do I know that Donald Trump is the Confederacy? Because remember when he tried to overthrow the government? They brought their battle flag into the Capitol. And look, there's people with Trump hats. So you know it wasn't Antifa. You know it wasn't Democrats. These are Republicans. These are Confederates. There's their fucking flag. They tried to overthrow the government on January 6th, and that's their flag. So they really are their own country. They're their own nation. Their own nation of Confederates. And Donald Trump said, "Look, my fellow Confederates, if we don't win this election, if we don't take control of the government in 2024, our nation's not going to survive." Yes! That'd be great. That'd be great to defeat the Confederacy once and for all. I would love that. I would love that. Right? But is that just a one-off? Is that just a one thing? No, dude. No. Even the next guy, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said the same thing. He says, if Republicans slash Confederates don't have full control of the federal government after November, I think we're facing a very serious threat to our republic. Who's this our? Who's this our? It's not me. He's not talking to me. He's talking about his fellow white supremacist. He's talking about his fellow Confederate, the Confederacy, the Confederate Republic. When they say we're a republic, not a democracy, they mean the the Confederacy is a republic. They're not talking about the United States. They're talking about the Confederacy. They remind you, the Confederacy is a republic, not a democracy. They always tell you that. They always tell you that. They're their own nation. Like, understand, they're their own group. They don't care about the United States. They want their own nation. They want to overthrow the United States and replace it with the Confederacy. And they're telling you, if they don't take control of the government in November, that their nation's gonna end. And I can't fucking wait. That'll be fantastic. It's just a shame that Joe Biden is doing everything he can to help them to destroy the United States. That just pisses me off. That Joe Biden would Joe Biden, the moderate that MLK Jr. warned us about, is gonna help the Confederacy try to defeat the United States. So remember, birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. What's the thing that connects Israel with the Confederacy? They are both ethno-states. That's what they are. They're ethno-states. They're both ethno-states. That's why it's not a contradiction to fly the Israeli flag and the Confederate flag, because they're joined in the idea that there can be that they want not democracy, but a state ruled by race. That's what they're all about. Apartheid and ethno state. That's what joins them. That's why it's so weird that Joe Biden would be on board with this, because it's the same side as the Confederates. It just fucking breaks my head. It breaks my heart. So, Councilwoman Vicky for New York City, Councilwoman Vicky Pala something, says, the New York PD confirms that 99% of the arrests at New York University were indeed students and not outside agitators. You see? Right? When you actually look, it's not outside agitators. That's just a fucking talking point bullshit sped by assholes. So she continues. The sad reality is our schools are producing monsters. She's calling kids monsters. And it's now our job to slay them. What? What? And the school and the faculty who sit at the top of this chaos must be raised along with them. These are words of death and warfare that she's using against her own people, against the students and faculty. So it's weird that they're okay with using these words. But if we say infundata, not infundata, what is it? Intifada. If we say intifada, that's they claim that it's a call for violence. What does that word mean? Let's look up the meaning of the word. The meaning of the word intifada means shiver, a shudder, a tremor, an awakening, a popular uprising. There's no violence associated with it. There's no violence associated with it. But the way that fascists work is they try to take control of language and make words mean what they say it means. So Joe Biden has aligned himself with Confederates, white supremacists, and racists, and Nazis, basically, in order to pursue an ethno-state and apartheid. What else do I got here? Okay, I have things that are a little weird. Student debt. The United States is the only country with a ginormous student debt. The only country, the only developed nation that saddles its young people with stupid amounts of debt just to get an education. It's the only country that does it. Nobody else does it. The other Anglo countries, England, the UK, and Australia, they put some debt on. The UK more than Australia, but not to the level of the United States. In the United States, student debt is 7.8% of GDP. That's outrageous to put that kind of debt on your young people. So people want to say that climate change isn't real. But all you have to do is look, and you can look at the world, and you can see with your own eyes that climate change is indeed real. This is the same place, the same location, 100 years apart, and that glacier is like retreated like back onto land. That's the Monaco Breen Glacier in Svalbard, Norway. Globe records its hottest April on record with subtle signs of a shift. So every year it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Every fucking year. Every year it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Why are things getting worse? Because nothing's changed, dude. Nothing's changed. How many like promises have we made? Look at from 1959 to 2009, nothing's changed. It's a steady increase. It's as if we did nothing. We talk a lot, but our leaders have done nothing to make any change whatsoever. That's why things are getting worse. Because nothing's changed. Look at it. They've had the Kyoto protocols, the Paris agreements, all this bullshit. But it does nothing. Look at it. It does nothing. The atmospheric carbon dioxide is going up just as fast as it did back in the 1960s. Nothing's changed. So Marcy Wheeler has this interesting point. Here's something, Empty Wheel says, here's something I'd like to read. Whether written anew, given Israel's turmoil or link. So, what is it? The degree to which the entire human rights post-World War II order ties to the need for a Jewish state. How do you salvage human rights post-Gaza, especially as Bibi Netanyahu digs in? So, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, for years have looked for a way to dismantle that post-World War II order in favor of a sovereignty that permitted all kinds of human rights abuses. And whatever agency you want to describe, Israel seems to be giving it to them. In other words, after World War II, we were talking about the triumph of human rights, that we have to respect human rights. A state can't just go and genocide a people because it wants to. Humans have rights. They have human rights. Every human has human rights, the right to dignity. Every human. But authoritarian states hate that. They don't want to give humans rights. They want the power to be concentrated in the hands of the elite so they can do whatever they want. So that's why Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea are enemies. That they hate the West. They hate the world, right? Because the West imposed this regime of human rights, that you have to respect human rights. But Israel undermines all of that. Israel, the genocide of the Palestinian people is a total refutation of human rights. Israel's actions are saying that, oh no, Russia and North Korea and Iran and China, they're right. The state rules above everything, and humans have no rights in the face of the state. So how can the West be supporting the genocide of Palestinian people and still preserve the human rights world order? It can't. It can't do it. It can't do it. By supporting Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people, you are agreeing with Russia. You're agreeing with Putin. You're agreeing with President Xi that individuals are meaningless and the only thing that matters is the state. That's what you're saying. So real quick. So Henry Cuellar is a Democratic representative who's indicted for corruption. Right? He's a bad guy. So he's gonna like lose his seat and like it's probably gonna go to Republican. How did Henry Cuellar get into his position? How did he become a representative of the United States? Well, AIPAC spent $2 million to help Henry Cuellar fend off a progressive primary challenger. So there was a primary, and the Israeli PAC helped the corrupt guy defeat the progressive guy. The Democratic leadership pitched in too. So Nancy Pelosi also helped Henry Cuellar defeat the progressive candidate so that they can get Henry Cuellar in and he can lose his seat because he's corrupt. So that's another self-inflicted wound that the Democrats do. Democrats aren't perfect. There's a bunch of like moderate Democrats that are happy to sacrifice the movement for their own personal power. All right, here. No. Trump needs a teleprompter.
But isn't it nice to have a president who doesn't need a teleprompter? Not that he can read it anyway. He can't read it. Because this teleprompter is facing you, not facing. You son of a... These teleprompters are just gonzo, folks. They're gonzo.
Donald Trump is a fucking asshole. But his followers are so stupid. His followers are so dumb. Like, if there was any way to get the truth to his followers, maybe some of his followers would change their minds. But remember, a lot of Donald Trump's followers are Confederates. They fully believe in overthrowing democracy and installing an ethno-state. So, like, it doesn't matter if you tell Donald Trump's followers the truth. They want some guy like Donald Trump. They want a criminal. They want someone who will destroy the United States. Alright, I think that'll do it for me. I managed to do my duty for the week. Like, it's getting rough, man. It's getting hard. It was easy when like I could believe in Joe Biden. But now it's like super hard. Like, I don't even want to do it anymore. But the thing is, it's not about, like, just because I feel like I was betrayed by Joe Biden. Like, a betrayal. I mean, he doesn't care about me. He'd rather get the never Trumpers who support his genocide than he would me. He doesn't want me. He doesn't care about me. He's just throwing me to the side. So yeah, like, but I'm not doing this for Joe Biden. I'm doing this for the United States. I'm doing this because I believe the people of the United States deserve better than this fucked up system. That the destiny of the United States. Yeah, hey, thanks, go away. Thank you for the props. I'm doing this not to help Joe Biden. I'm not doing this to help the Dems. I'm doing this because America has a bigger destiny than Joe Biden and the Democrats. Is a bigger destiny than the political parties. It is destined to become a multiracial democracy, the first and only multiracial democracy in the world, and it's going to be a symbol and a beacon for the rest of the world to see how to do it, how to become a multiracial democracy, how different groups of people can live together in peace and harmony. We can do it, right? We can do it. But there's forces aligned against us who are trying to stop it from happening, and there's forces who are trying to hijack the movement for their own personal profit or their own personal ideology. So I'm doing this not for the benefit of the Democrats, but for the benefit of the American people. So to that end, I believe I'm out of energy for the moment, and I will leave you there with that. So until next week, my fellow Americans, peace. Pogokiro out. Stop.